The chair recognizes Representative Durhal.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to offer an amendment to House Bill 4102. The amendment that I am asking my colleagues to support would establish the Iron River Juvenile Correctional Facility in Iron River, Michigan. This amendment would insert an appropriation of $10 million, which would provide for the hiring of 70 full-time positions. $3 million of the appropriated funds will be used by the Department of Corrections to work with the Department of Technology Management and Budget to retrofit the former Camp Ottawa facility so that it could be used to house the 88 juvenile offenders currently under the supervision and jurisdiction of the Department of Corrections. Mr. Speaker, the opening of this facility will provide a place where none of the current juvenile offenders will have to encounter adult offenders while incarcerated. This provides safety for the juvenile offenders incarcerated as well as protects our state and ultimately taxpayers from potential huge class action lawsuits such as Neal versus MDOC, which has cost the state and taxpayers $100 million. Our state is currently facing another federal class lawsuit, Mr. Speaker. In December of 2013, a lawsuit was filed against the Michigan Department of Corrections on behalf of male juvenile prison inmates who alleged they were raped, sexually taunted, and sexually trafficked by adult prisoners and correction officers. Even the U.S. Department of Justice has filed a statement of interest in this case because under the Federal Prison Rape Elimination Act, the state has a duty to protect young inmates from sexual assault. In at least one case, a juvenile inmate was trafficked for a bag of beef sticks and potato chips. Mr. Speaker, Michigan is one of only a few states that automatically prosecutes 17-year-olds as adults and has no judicial review when juveniles are waived into an adult court. And I realize that everyone will not care about these quote-unquote bad boys. And some may feel that if one has earned a place in prison, that they deserve everything that comes along with it. But Mr. Speaker, no one deserves to be raped in prison, especially not children. The current fiscal year marks the final year of our payout in the $100 million settlement in the Neal prison abuse case against women. If the allegations in the present case are true, here we go again. And we'll be singing the same song again and again and again. And so, Mr. Speaker, we can no longer afford this. The taxpayers in this state do not deserve this, and it's time to sing a different tune, one that makes good, fiscally prudent sense. In our correctional facilities, we pay more for the care of our juvenile offenders, who generally fall under the Department of Human Services, than our adult offenders. Nearly 2/3 of Michigan voters believe that youth under the age of 18 should never be placed in state prisons or county jails that house adults, according to a reputable poll. However, Mr. Speaker, because we still place youth under the age of 18 years of age in correctional facilities that house adults, I urge this honorable body to support this amendment, which offers the ability for the department to provide a safer, more educational-oriented, fiscally responsible alternative to housing juvenile offenders with adults. The exposure of juvenile offenders on a daily basis to adult offenders leaves them subject to violent offenses from offenders who are older than them, subject to sexual abuse to offenders who are older than them, and subject to encouraged behavior that could be detrimental to the rehabilitation of juvenile offenders. The research examining more than 2 decades of juvenile prosecutions in adult courts suggests youth held in adult jails and prison are 5 times more likely to be sexually or physically abused and 36 times more likely to commit suicide. The benefits of having a juvenile facility to address those incarcerated who are 17 years of age and younger is the ability to provide educational programs, life skill programs, GED completion, and it will put them in an environment that will be safer to do so. With the adoption of this amendment, juveniles will not leave the facility they are incarcerated in to attend these classes and be amongst their adult counterparts. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, if we are to reduce recidivism in our correctional facilities, we have to focus on education and corrective behavior, particularly among our younger population who, in my belief, have the best opportunity of turning their lives around and being rehabilitated. And we should not call this the Department of Corrections if we are not assisting to correct the behavior and lives of those who are incarcerated. So, Mr. Speaker, I respectfully urge all of my colleagues to support this amendment, and I ask that my comments be printed in the House Journal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. The question before the House is on the adoption of the amendment. The clerk will open the board. The amendment is not adopted.